everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues podcast, brought to you by Comic Book Clique. And as you know, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself.
We are Cloudus Maximus.
Cloudus Maximus has returned here in studio to chop it up all about New York Comic Con weekend and a special little movie that dropped the Friday of. But let's get talking about some Comic Con first. What a con! What a weekend!
My feet hurt.
My
legs.
It is literally,
ladies and gentlemen,
a weekend built on fandom, on geeks and nerds and gamers and moviegoers alike and comic heads.
So beautiful.
This is your second time?
Yes.
Going to Comic Con?
Second time in a row.
And
I wasn't gonna go actually because I was gonna meet up with you guys for Venom.
Yeah.
So thank you to the bro Joey, Mr. Joseph.
You know who you
for
are, Joe.
hooking the brother up. You know what I'm saying? Last minute.
He came in super clutch
Super
and was able to get a Thursday pass for you.
Yes.
But what did you think? I mean, second time coming around. Now that you're a
I'm
little
ready.
bit less.
I'm
new.
It's like a little less new, right? I loved it. I mean, I just love going back and seeing everybody that's like us. You know, I have an itch to go back and for the third time in a row, but next year I got the itch to dress up.
Got the itch to cosplay. Yeah, man, those cosplays are getting better and better every year. Some of the most ridiculous to funny to just awesome work that goes into some of these costumes. I saw a full-grown Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
We got to see the Iron Spider with
saw the
moving
big-
arms.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Tall Grodd.
Yeah, Gorilla Grodd was there. We saw Lego Spider-Man that was there. I saw every version of Deadpool probably imaginable. But what really always kills me is the random celebrities that are there that you can get photo ops with, or you literally just bump into walking around. I was walking around and I
you
saw
don't even
Jerry
know
King Lawler.
until they're like walking by and you're like, oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Bumped into Jerry the King Lawler, which was cool. We got to see Sting. Remember, Sting was over there.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. All sorts of artists and I was going to say artists and drawers, but that doesn't make any sense. Artists and writers of well-known comics and comics literally everywhere.
Galore from wall to wall.
Where I got my Doomsday Clock comic that I was missing.
Ooh, I also got
there.
I was hunting for this for a while. The Anatomy of a Metahuman.
Have you busted that open yet?
I haven't. It's real pretty to look at, man. I can't lie. So I'm like being very careful before I open it, dude.
Right. No, I get it. I gotta get that book now too. I forgot. I probably should have got it there, but you got the second to last one.
Yeah, something like that. I think it might have been the last one, and I got a sweet little discount on it for being brand new, I guess. But it was sweet. Sweet.
I was walking around in the brand new 2018 Red Hood cosplay created by myself.
The only one.
I think so, and
people
I did
appreciated
see
that
somebody.
one, yeah.
I did see somebody who was coming in as it on Friday, and they took a picture of me because they were like, "Oh, I'm doing this tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's good." If you did see somebody menacing around with a crowbar on Thursday for New York Comic Con, that was me. That was me walking around there looking for the Joker to exact my revenge. But yeah, it was great to just be there. The only thing is, when I'm there on the floor, because sometimes I could just spend the entire day just being on the floor. No panels, no autographs and stuff, because there's so much to see. But in that same respect, and I think I asked it while we were there, I never understand when they drop trailers.
Right.
Because you hear like San Diego Comic-Con trailer, the Justice League San Diego Comic-Con trailer, the Captain Marvel San Diego, and it's like, well, I get that a lot of this happens in Hall H. But there is no Hall H.
Yeah, there is no Hall H.
In New York Comic Con, there's just various halls for panels and stuff. And so I miss out on a lot of these trailers. So I thought that we should do our due diligence as podcasters and talk about some of the trailers that dropped comic related.
We're going to get our Hall H on.
We're going to get our mini Hall H on. Let's start with the thing that's coming the soonest. Daredevil Season 3 seems to be on the cusp, and they can't stop letting us know. It seems like a trailer drops every week since Iron Fist, was released. And are you ready for Daredevil Season 3?
I'm ready for a Bullseye.
Yeah, Bullseye.
You see in the trailer he dresses up.
I see in the trailer that
As in-
Kingpin has his white suit on finally. That is amazing. I need a little yellow ascot though.
Oh,
I need a
okay.
little fancy yellow ascot. But seeing him wear the white suit, man, that's all I needed. That's all I
Until he
wanted.
breaks out the cane on Mr. Murdoch.
And there's definitely a story, well, the story that we covered, Daredevil Born Again, to sort of muddy the name of Daredevil. Kingpin hires basically a lunatic to wear the costume and basically kill people. And so people can be like, oh, Daredevil's crazy. So seeing a different Daredevil show up and start killing people and Matt being like, who is this? I was like, I get this. I read this. This will be the third season of any of the Netflix shows. So we'll see how long these shows have legs for, right? Because some of the season 2s so far have been good. Some of them have been a little bit lax. So hopefully this season, really ramps it up.
You can't
Because
save them all, Red.
You might as well call
He's gonna kill 'em all.
Defenders Daredevil season 2.5 because he was in a lot of that Defender stuff.
Yeah.
And he basically, the last time we saw him was in Defenders where he goes down in that Midland Circle explosion. But then we see that he has been saved and he's
By
been
the
rescued
nuns.
by some nuns. And to keep the spoiler free, seems like one of the nuns might know him more than he thinks. So that is very interesting. Do you have any hopes for Daredevil season 3?
I want. You know how they had a hallway scene.
Yes.
I want a church scene.
Oh dear.
I need
Destroying the church.
I need Matt just kicking butt in God's house. You know.
I feel like we need another hero.
Yeah.
That's not. Maybe I'm getting too used to CW, where they build these teams on their own shows and then they get together. It's like Danny got Colleen, and I guess Jessica doesn't really have anybody. But this idea that Daredevil's not alone in the street vigilante stuff. He's always been the guy to bump into everybody for me, like on shows and comics. So I guess seeing him by himself with this one-man war on crime, constantly tired, constantly bleeding from everywhere. He's like, he needs a little help, man.
Yeah, he has a Hell's Kitchen.
Maybe Punisher comes back. Maybe he comes back to help out.
What's going on, Red?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I still gotta finish that season, man. Yeah, I gotta finish it. We saw the Harley Quinn first look for the animated show that'll be coming to the DC universe.
That took me by
streaming
surprise.
service. A different voice.
Yes.
I was a little bit taken aback because they changed the voices for Batman and Harley, the film, and I wasn't a big fan. It felt like somebody was just trying to do an impression of the first person who was doing it, and
I like
do your own thing.
I like her. This homegirl from Big Bang Theory, right?
Kelly
Kuko.
Yeah, I was hoping
I
I
was
was
saying that
pronouncing.
right.
Yeah, I was about to say I was hoping I was pronouncing that right. Yeah, Kelly Kuko is she's heading that, and it's supposed to be an all-star cast as far as voice actors go. But in the little bit of a sneak peek that we get, we see how fourth wall breaky it's gonna be, the kind of adult humor that they got going on. They make jokes at the DC Universe's expense. They make jokes as far as the Deadpool cartoon is concerned.
That took me by surprise too.
So it might be that sort of Family Guy comedy. I mean, comic version of Family Guy.
Being self-aware,
being
and things
self-aware,
like that,
making jokes about pop culture and stuff like that. That kind of thing could last. I'm pretty sure the Deadpool cartoon would have lasted had they released it. But we're not getting that. We're definitely getting this. How do you feel about the whole feel of the trailer and the whole Poison Ivy playing the straight,
I mean,
straight face throughout?
Yeah, if you're gonna have a fourth wall breaker, you gotta kind of have somebody to keep her in check.
Yeah.
So to speak, so that way she doesn't get a little too crazy.
Yeah.
Granted, it is Harley Quinn.
Ivy kind of reminds me of like Daria from those shows. She's all like, I'm just not interested in any of this. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't get the feeling of saying, "Oh, female version of Deadpool," in a sense. You know what I mean? Which I'm very glad for. So.
And the Harley Quinn has always been such an odd character because she seems to gain popularity almost despite what they do with her. Like it's not like they're doing anything to re-energize the character, but has always caught on since her debut in the animated series.
Yeah.
Everyone says she was one of the best parts of Suicide Squad. They're getting a Suicide
And
Squad
and
too.
I'm glad she can stand alone as opposed to every time everybody sees her, everybody thinks of the Joker
Yeah,
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
we've
that's
gotten
real
far
good.
enough from it. Yeah, where people know that she is associated with the Joker, but is not necessarily live and die by the Joker and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. But Harley, yes, Harley is coming. I thought I was surprised that they dropped that trailer, but if you're proud, you're proud. There's a couple of other ones here, but just to make sure that we don't forget, we have to talk about that Aquaman trailer. We'll go Aquaman, and then we'll go straight into Venom, the two big blockbusters of the year. Because I think after Venom, the next comic book movie is Aquaman,
Mm-hmm.
and then Into the Spider-Verse, which we got a little bit of sneak peek of that, and we'll talk about more of that when we get to Venom. But Aquaman has released a extended trailer about 2 or 3 extra minutes of uncut footage.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Beautiful.
looks good. It does look very good and very expensive. It looks very good, very expensive. How do you feel about this trailer? And the fact that we were talking a little bit off air about this, but the director says that as far as the trailer spoiling things, that trailers by nature spoil things,
Right,
and that
right.
this one is barely scratching the surface. How do you feel about the trailer, and how do you feel about that statement?
I'm excited about that. I mean, when was the last time they actually kind of like said something like that? But to be honest,
Yeah.
seeing that and then seeing the trailer, it almost kind of does make sense because show all of Atlantis. You got sprinkled a little bit of everything in there in a way.
Yeah,
Got some Black Manta.
definitely.
What seems to be at the beginning of the trailer going into Atlantis, getting the key for Atlantis, or what seems to be a message.
Right. I did some real deep dive binge reading into Aquaman when right after the first trailer dropped. I knew some of his stories, but I wasn't reading issue to issue. So I read all the new 52 issues of Aquaman, which I believe that they're going to be taking a lot of this from. And as someone who's done all of that reading, to me, it's a little bit more obvious as to what the plot of this movie is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is sort of laid out in a way that if you know, it's uber spoilery.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilery. Sorry. Uber spoilery. But yeah, it's like if you saw a Miles Morales movie and you saw a trailer. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's in that trailer and what you know of the story, you can piece it together. But this trailer shows that what the crux of this film is going to be about is about the former king of Atlantis' trident.
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis used to be a city above ground, and then it was sunk into the ocean, and its inhabitants evolved to a point where they were able to live there. But this trident seems to be the source of the power that can unite all the seven kingdoms, and this is something that Arthur himself is looking for. We also know that probably looking for that same thing is Orm, or Ocean Master, Aquaman's brother, played by Patrick Wilson in this, aka Night Owl from Watchmen fame. So he will be the Loki of the situation, the brother who should be getting the throne, but seemingly the true heir, Aquaman / Odin's son, shows up, and he wants to rule. And so Ocean Master, who's been raised his whole life for this, seems to feel like he's being cheated because now Homeboy's just gonna dive right back in
because
and
it
become
seems
king.
because it seems Arthur Curry's been on land.
Yeah, and we
these
see
years.
some in the first trailer. We saw some training montages of him as a kid,
Mhm.
and there's a scene of, I believe, of his mother defending the lighthouse.
Mhm.
Maybe people have come for her. Maybe people have come for Arthur. We know that his mother has a child with a lighthouse keeper, and that is looked down upon, and because of such,
Land dweller.
yes, people are looking for Arthur, and people are looking for the mother. I think the mother ends up dying because of struggles. She does like get away and disappear, but Aquaman has to want that lineage back. No one's going up to Arthur and like, here, this is all yours. They assume that he has abandoned the kingdom. They assume that he has abandoned the people, And so hopefully this movie shows him gain a love and appreciation for this whole side of the family that he didn't even really know, right? That would be cool. What do you think of Amber Heard as Mira?
Mira, I'm digging it. That's also one of the reasons why I want to go to see the movie too, because you see her running through the roofs and I'm trying to get away from Do those guys have a name with the suits?
No, they seem to just be Black Manta's goons or something like that.
The Manta goons.
Yes.
So and
Manta
you get a little bit of her water manipulation when she takes the beads of sweat off.
Yes,
off his
Aqua
forehead.
Kinesis. I was very pleased by that. In the New 52 story, like throughout the run, there are various points where you find out that Atlantis has built gateways to get to it or to get to other mystical places, and you need sort of like a key. It could be a trident, it could be an artifact, and you place the artifact where it needs to go, and then it opens up a gateway. So this was very similar to that, except this one had a lot of information regarding the trident and stuff.
Right.
We see Black Manta seemingly catch up with Arthur and Mira and start to attack, and that was a big crux of the trailer, was following one of the Manta men as he broke and busted through. We also got to see how durable Mira and Aquaman are, because they took some hella blows in this trailer and seem to just be, shrugging it off.
Took a Manta blast to the chest.
How much of this film do you think takes place on land versus in the ocean, considering how much of this trailer was on land?
I don't know, man. I hope it's at least a quarter of it, maybe.
Quarter on land?
Yeah.
2 3/4 in the water?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money those water shots.
Yeah, dude. You see
Yeah,
that, right, man?
I mean, we're gonna have an underwater war. That's what I want to see. I do
Underwater
love the images of the water being lit by flares from underneath and all that stuff. I thought all that stuff was really, really cool. How do you feel about the pee joke?
Could just peed on it.
DC
Which
seems
made
to like
sense.
pee.
Royal urine.
Royal urine, not Granny Speech tea.
Nope. Royal urine.
We're not doing any of that Granny Speech tea stuff. Aquaman, your universe is crumbling around you. Batman and Superman are nowhere to be found, and Wonder Woman is doing her own thing, regardless of what anyone
I don't
says.
think any of them can swim.
This is true, but everybody, all the DC EU is stumbling. Shazam seems to be a bright spot in its future.
Yeah, I got the same feeling for Aquaman that I do Shazam. So I hope for both movies.
I'm definitely getting like a Black Panther feeling from Aquaman, especially when all the hieroglyphic letters glow.
Yeah,
like
I'm
glowed.
getting slightly. I don't think it's
Like when they
much
all glowed
as
and
everybody else, because I'm really pulling for Aquaman. So
Yeah, I guess just the whole idea of like the secret, futuristic.
yeah, just hit a home run off the Curry. Let's go.
And not to say that you can't do anything more than once. Trust me, comic books is littered with people taking similar elements and making completely new and different things out of it. And hopefully Warner Brothers sees that, there is a compelling story to have with a guy who talks to fish. I don't know he doesn't talk to fish, but, I heard a lot of people saying that, like, we don't see him talk to fish. We haven't seen him talk to fish yet. Like,
Don't worry about it.
what do you think? Is going to be one like those circles? Those.
I don't know. Maybe be some psychic.
Are
kind
we
of
gonna
thing.
hear fish talk in this film, Claudius Maximus? That's the question I have for you. Is Arthur Curry going to, like, you won't see his mouth move, but you can hear him say,
Right.
and the sharks in this area,
like narrating, so to speak, or something like that.
Yeah, and then you hear a shark back go, "I'm coming." It's like,
What if we got subtitles? What if they do
fish
their
subtitles?
Yeah,
It's possible. I think anything is
they
possible.
do the underwater noise.
Underwater
Call it.
noise. Some gang signs. Well, they don't got fingers. That's a little bit harder to do.
Octopus got tentacles.
Last but not least, how do you feel about the final shot of the trailer? Aquaman adorned in his orange and green for the first time since he was
That's the part.
blonde.
That's the part that I love the most.
They stuck to it.
Dude, I when I saw it, the first time I saw it, I just paused it right there, crossed my arms. I was
Hero
like,
shot, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
This is the guy I know. So, and that was great because you had a lot of people complaining and whining for during during Justice League, talking about it.
And I was gonna excuse the rant that I'm about to go on right now, but there's no excuse for it because we're on major issues and that's what we do. We chop up about stuff like this. Hopefully, Aquaman is what shows them that they can do a Superman movie, because Aquaman is silly on the face of it. You have to
Right.
make it cool. You have to make it serious. Jeff Johns cared enough about it to make those cool stories in the New 52. But there was a lot of people that made him the butt of jokes for years because they couldn't think of something cool to do with him. If Aquaman could stick the landing, there's no way that that big blue Boy Scout can't do it too. And y'all really need to get that settled. Y'all need to get Superman right.
I feel so.
And if you don't get Superman right, I don't care how many great Aquaman movies you make or how many great Wonder Woman movies you make. Without them being with their friends,
Yeah.
this ain't Marvel where
'Cause
there's
they're
one
known
set
for
of
eventually
Avengers.
being with their friends and stuff like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
you know,
like-
this ain't Marvel where there's like mainly one set of Avengers, and I know there's multiple sets of the Justice League, but those Crux,
Yeah.
Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, like you can move out a Cyborg for a Martian Manhunter or add in a Black Canary, all that other kind of stuff, whatever. But Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, those 5 they need to be. What other lanterns you want to interchange? Whatever, Martian Manhunter, Cyborg, that's cool. But you have to get those 5, and you
Yeah,
have
the
to get
main
them
guys.
right. So Aquaman, you're looking good, and you're unapologetically Aquaman with that
Mhm.
outfit at the
For
end.
real, man.
So Superman, come correct and stop apologizing for being Superman. Lighten up that blue a little bit. Get that yellow out there shining. Smile,
let's do it.
please smile, and
Man,
let's get
still two.
and let's get this underway. But let's stop talking about movies that haven't come out yet, and let's talk about something that did.
Venom.
Venom, as I've been calling it for the last week. The Venom movie is out. We can stop flinching, wondering what Sony was going to do. I guess we can't talk about this film without first talking about all of the madness that seemed to stem from this film before it was released to the world. Right, we decided, as we always do here at Major Issues, to catch the movie the Thursday it comes out instead
Right.
of the Friday, just to beat the rush, to have the movie in our minds and be able to formulate some opinions about it. But before even Thursday, which is the day before it comes out everywhere, before Thursday, I would say Wednesday, Tuesday, we were starting to hear that this film might be the worst superhero film of all time. We heard rumors that this film harkens back to superhero films of the 2000s, the Ghost Riders and Daredevils,
How
and
dare they?
Catwomen, if you will. It made me nervous. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't make me nervous because I remember going to see less than stellar comic book movies, and at every turn trying to convince myself I like this, right? But I like right? I'm having fun, right? And so incredibly trepidatious about going in to see this film. But as we always do here as a part of Major Issues when it comes to movie reviews, we'll go ahead and give you a bit of a spoiler-free review before we get into the deep dive of the recap and review. So spoiler-free, Carlos Maximus, the tape over your mouth has been ripped off.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
time.
man,
It's
dude.
time. How did you feel about Sony's Venom?
I'm more happy that the critics were wrong. Well, all the ones that had all those negative things to say about the movie were wrong. Because to this day, I even have people that have gone to seen it twice already.
Wow.
People at my job. So I'm hyped that it's getting all the burn, man. Like I'm a Venom mark because of Spider-Man.
Right.
So to go and see this
Is he in the game?
Venom movie? No.
No, he's not in the game?
No. So to which makes me want him in the game even more, and makes me want them to do
Eddie Brock's Venom?
a special DLC. You know what I mean? So that's real ill.
Yeah.
But dude, shoot, I don't even know where to start before we get into the movie. Like
Well, did it exceed your
without-
expectations?
It did very much so, and without we're
Spoilers?
trying to say a little bit without no Spider-Man in the movie.
Yeah.
I feel so much better about it too.
I guess it is a little spoilery to say there's no Spider-Man, but I
Right.
think it's important for people to know
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
going in, there is no Spider-Man.
And
And
for
if
him
this
to
was your
stand-
make or break,
And for him to stand on his own 2 feet without Peter and Spider-Man, just even better, dude.
you would have asked me, I would have not thought this could be done. I would have thought that this was too much of a chore, especially considering how much of this character's history is wrapped up in Spider-Man. The idea that
Mhm.
Spider-Man wouldn't be in it is bonkers. But they do. I think personally they do a really good job of making Venom its own character and Eddie Brock its own character,
And the movie is based on the comic Lethal Protector, which
which we covered
Spider-Man
here.
makes
We covered here.
an appearance
Yeah, and
in.
Spider-Man's in half of that
Mhm.
comic, so to still do that story without Spider-Man, we covered Lethal Protector here.
Yeah, that was the last episode before this one.
Yeah, we
So,
covered Lethal Protector here.
So
So
to
we
see the workaround behind around all of that,
they kept what they
and
they
for-
kept what they liked
yeah,
and they threw everything
and
else
for
out.
it to be and for it to come out the way it did, oh my goodness! They said it got biggest opening for October release.
$80 million.
So it's gonna crack 100 million.
I don't know if it
easy.
beat that Gaga movie though.
I'm pretty sure it beat that
I got
Gaga
them.
movie.
Maybe the Gaga movie should have had a Venom symbiote in it.
We
are Gaga.
Maybe Gaga should have been Venom
I like it.
in her movie though, because Tom Hardy. I'm just gonna clap it up for Tom Hardy one time.
Tom Hardy does do a great job in
Oh,
this
man.
film. I can the only reason I can give a little bit of a pass to some of the horrendous criticism lobbied against this film is if you saw and are comparing it to Infinity War.
Yeah.
If you saw Infinity War, let's say you don't like comic book movies and your significant other made you watch all the comic book movies leading into Infinity War, and then you watch Infinity War, that's church. You understand? That is an out of body experience, because you've been on such a long journey. The same thing with a Logan, or some of these movies just have so many layers of exposition or metaphors to real life, or this movie doesn't have any of that really.
Mhm.
It is everything that the movie wants you to know or wants you to feel is right there on the page. So while some might think that that's bad, as somebody who's done these deep dives in books and movies and trying to find every hidden message, meaning, and Easter egg,
Right.
this
to see what else is
this
coming
was
and things
so
like that.
just entertaining for me.
Yeah, it's one of those what you see is what you get.
Exactly. And
And,
stop looking for anything else.
Yeah, but what we got was so damn it.
So we're gonna get to spoilers. We're gonna get to spoilers. In my opinion, this film was definitely worth seeing if you like to just enjoy yourself. If you like to see a silly concept, which is a man is possessed by an alien parasite / symbiote, and the alien needs the man to live, and the man needs the alien to live, sort of, kinda, and that's basically the crux of the movie.
Which, by the way, they fixed. It's not symbiote, it's a symbiote. So they fixed that right off the bat as soon as we came into the movie. So
Yeah,
and we were all looking around like, yeah, they fixed it.
yeah, that was definitely cool that they got to that. But yeah, I guess last of the spoiler-free part of the review, I say go see it. I say regardless of whether or not you even have any strong feelings towards the Venom character at all,
Yeah.
you owe yourself to see it, because I think there's so many opinions out there in the world that you need to make up your own.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have seen it and chewed it up in your own head and been able to.
I thanked Sony twice last week for Spider-Man because I just recently beat it, and for Venom. So they on a roll. Okay,
Yeah.
keep it pumping, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they landed on their feet, which was that's a hell of a task in its own right. So congratulations to Sony. We'll see where the rest of this Venom verse goes, but let's get right into the spoiler aspect of this review. This will be a recap and review. We'll try to go very cleanly, scene by scene, from the beginning to the end, only stopping when we feel like we need to talk about some of the character development, some of the plot points, and exactly what went on in this little engine that could, this little symbiote that could movie. So getting into Venom, I think it is pretty damn cool that the very first shot that we see is a spaceship, because come on, where else are we going to go to get these symbiotes? Did you have any idea how this film was going to start off? Did you think it was going to start off in space?
But I kind of thought it was going to start like spaceship in space,
Yeah.
or crashing because of the trailer and everything like that.
Yeah.
So the trailer kind of really set the tone in a
So-
sense.
So we find out that this spaceship is part of the Life Foundation Corporation. The Life Foundation was trying to find habitable places, not on Earth, to live, because as we hear from every movie, right, we're dooming our own planet.
We're killing the planet.
killing the planet.
Killing each other.
The planet's
There are too
coming for
many of us.
revenge. Earth 2, Earth's revenge is coming. And so the CEO of that company, Carlton Drake, sent a bunch of people out into in a shuttle, in a probe, to go find if there's life on other worlds, so that he could get his very high paying members to live there, just in case Earth,
Kaputs.
there is no Earth B. Remember? Uh, Instead of finding a habitable world, his people find a comet covered in symbiotic life forms. 4 of those symbiotes are grabbed up in like nice little containers. I kind of would have liked to see that part too, because it seems so easy to get them in those things, right? Where later on we see how crazy it is when they get out. But they grab 4 and they're like, "Well, open and shut case. We're going back to Earth." But all of a sudden, you hear a bunch of yelling and "Mayday, Mayday" coming from the ship, and the ship crash lands in Malaysia. With the only survivor being a John Jonah Jameson. Well, just a astronaut named Jameson that we'll call John Jonah Jameson, because the only Jameson I know that is a astronaut in the Marvel Universe is the son of J. Jonah. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did a little nod there. We see the wreckage of the spaceship and a couple of the symbiotes intact, except for one. And we see the Life Foundation is able to recover the other 3 and go back to their nice little facility in San Francisco, where Carlton Drake, the CEO, is pissed that one of them is loose. We need to find that, and we need to clean up this whole mess of what's been going on, because no one knows.
Cover up.
Yes, no one knows that he's been on this journey, and I think that's when we get the actual. We see that the astronaut that it was kept alive, is sent to go get some hospital care, and we find out that he's only alive really because he had a symbiote on him, a symbiote that will later be called Riot. Transfers bodies from the astronaut to one of the drivers. The whole vehicle flips, damages one of the drivers, and we see in almost like zombie-like trance, one person walk away with the symbiote attached, and then we get the title screen of Venom, which that beginning made it very much seem like a horror movie, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
Very, very, possession and demon possession and all that kind of stuff there. But we cut to Eddie Brock hanging out with his girlfriend, Anne Wang. Eddie is an investigative journalist. Can't talk today. And his girlfriend is a district attorney living out there in San Francisco. Eddie is called into work, where his boss, Mr. Bobby Fish, his boss, Ron Cephas Jones, a.k.a. Bobby Fish from Luke Cage, who's known as Jack here, tells him the network needs him to interview Carlton Drake about the crash. Eddie refuses, but kind of gives in when they say, well, if you don't do it, the network will fire you. How do you feel about Eddie, the reporter, the little kind of montage they did with the clips of the Eddie Brock report? And
that was cool.
And Boss Man.
But I like finding out that he's kind of got a reputation of going rogue when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing in LA.
Yes.
He got kicked out of New York.
Yeah. It's cool because all the history that we know about Eddie Brock as a reporter is that he is a fraud. Right? That's where we pull our inspiration from. He, got caught red-handed with that fake story, and then he gets fired. That's where we know him from. This is the most I guess, like in-depth reporting I've ever seen Eddie Brock do.
Right.
And the montage shows that he's reporting on all kinds of things, to corruption in public office, to, riots, and to, no pun intended, protests, stuff like that. It is weird seeing somebody of Tom Hardy's stature as a reporter, right? Because he's a big dude.
Yeah, he kind of is a big dude.
Tom Hardy's a big dude. How do you like his accent? Can't tell?
Couldn't even tell.
Good?
Couldn't even tell. And I haven't seen enough movies with him in it, but I've seen a lot of interviews with him.
Yeah.
So to actually see him speak English,
yeah,
without a trace of the accent is pretty good.
You see that he's pretty conflicted here, because Carlton Drake has been able to keep kind of a squeaky clean, profile, even though people seem to think that something is up at the Life Foundation. Everything seems sort of kind of fine. and he has a conversation with Anne, where Anne's like, "Don't go overboard," and he's like, "That's what I do, though. That's what my job is."
But I'm Eddie Brock.
You know, and so they have dinner, they have a couple drinks, they get home, fall asleep. Eddie wakes up, starts walking around, and decides to break into his girlfriend's laptop. Breach of trust, right? Where do you land on the whole?
I mean, when my first thought about seeing it was, like, dude, she's gonna find out that you read it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, because it shows that it is unread. So the minute you click on it, it's
right.
You know what I mean? So and then which she should. Well, I didn't realize if who left the apartment first the morning after, was it him or her? Because if she was the one that got up first, then
oh yeah, but
she should have checked the laptop.
If she jumps to the conclusion that no one would touch it, including him, then even if it was open, you'd be like, I guess it opened by itself. Like, you start making up excuses.
It was a cat.
She seemed to really be into Eddie.
Yeah.
So I mean, she must have jumped to the conclusion. Look how easy
they were engaged.
Yeah, and look how accessible the files were. I'm assuming she must have not thought he would ever go through if the files were that accessible.
Right.
Because you don't put cookies on the table.
And she trusts him, too, because
that's the big thing, man. She trusts him. But he was able to break into the computer and find out that Carlton Drake has been doing human trials. No bueno. With the symbiote. With the symbiotes that he had. Turns out, with this three symbiotes that he's got, that they have moved on to human trials, and we're trying to find out if the host could last longer. The only host that we've seen, Carlton Drake knows nothing about, and that's Riot.
That one's running amok.
Riot.
Snatching people up.
Riot's moving from body to body and leaving bodies in the wake. Murders a bunch of people in Malaysia, jumped to an old woman's body, and seems to be on her way to San Francisco. So Carlton Drake has no idea that that's going on, so he's doing his own little experiments on the side. But yeah, finds out there's a list of people's names who have died because of these experiments. And ironically, he's able to access these files because Anne was going to be the defense for the Life Foundation. So Brock goes and talks to Carlton Drake. I like this scene because I like that it showed Carlton first talking to children.
Right.
The corporate face was on. The corporate face was on. Hey, kids, want to learn about science?
No way this guy's bad.
Yeah, you want to learn about science? Except he never answered that little girl's question. He passed her off to somebody else. But
this guy likes the kids.
Yeah, they shushed that little girl.
Yeah,
a little girl goes to ask Carlton Drake a question, and all the other kids are like, shh. What are you doing? You're basically in a museum. You can ask whatever the heck you want. But Drake is pulled away from the kids because he has an interview with the lovely Eddie Brock. And Eddie confronts Drake about the interview. This is also to clear the air about the crash that happened in Malaysia. This is the network thinks that Eddie's there to be like, so you crashed. Everything good now? Yeah, everything's good now. Well, thank you for this interview, But when it starts off about maybe the crashes and how Carlton got into the Life Foundation, it quickly starts to get more and more hostile as Eddie starts to allude to the fact that people might have been dying.
What about the bodies?
Yes, what about the bodies?
Who's you talking about, Willis?
He eventually ends up just straight up calling it the Death Foundation. He's like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's like, what life? You might as well call it the Death Foundation. And you can see the look on Carlton Drake's face drop. I've seen this look only when people make videos with celebrities, like selfie videos, or right before they say something stupid to make the celebrity then mad. Like the celebrity is all into it at first, and then you'd be like, your music's terrible, and then they'll, are you serious? This is what this was. He professionally just takes the microphone off and is like, have a good life.
We're over here.
Have a good life, Eddie Brock. We're done with this interview. You think Eddie's proud of himself in that moment? Or does he know he screwed up?
A little bit of both.
But
mostly because he knows he screwed up.
Think he knows he screwed up?
Yeah, because he didn't get nothing out of him.
he goes to talk to because it's asked as he's bringing up these allegations. He keeps being asked of him, where do you find this information from?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you read this information from? So Eddie ends up going to he gets called in
Mm-hmm.
to his job, and his job's like, this was all crazy, but maybe we can go for it. What's your source?
But who's your source?
And Eddie, trying not to
You can't give her up, man.
give Ann up, basically says he doesn't have a source, kind
Just a
of,
hunch.
which is the very worst thing you could ever. You can't walk in and accuse a multi-million-dollar CEO of something because you have a hunch. He actually had proof, but he couldn't speak on it, and because he couldn't speak on it, my man Bobby Fish fires him
But
while looking out of a window.
I like the fact. I like the fact that they were able to put 2 and 2 together and also get rid of Ann too. At the same
I
time.
knew the Ann stuff was
Yeah,
coming, man.
me
I
too,
knew
bro.
it was coming. But yeah, let's get to it. I guess Drake has more power than we think because both Ann and Brock are
Mhm.
fired from their jobs. When Brock goes to go visit Ann to, I guess, explain himself, she basically tells him, like, you're incredibly selfish. Like,
And she came down with all of her stuff.
yeah,
the
she's like,
box and
I got
everything.
fired. You're incredibly selfish. Here, take the ring. He gave the ring back. Yeah, a heartbreaking moment, especially when you consider that they were engaged.
Mhm.
She must have. This had to have been a straw that breaks the camel's back. This couldn't have been like the first bad thing that's ever happened because I don't think you just give up.
Yeah. Because I would assume they've been together since New York because she mentioned New York too, so
Yeah,
they had to, I guess, relocate. Or
Yes.
he had to relocate. She went with him.
she knew his history. She knows about him, so they definitely had a past, but she seems to not want a future. We got a time jump. How do you feel about the time jump?
I like
6
the
months
time,
later.
I like the time jump. Because it gave them time to kind of deal with the symbiotes in a sense.
I didn't expect there to be a time jump,
Yeah.
to tell you the truth, but it fits. Things have to have happened. Moved
I mean,
on
I
and
haven't
stuff.
seen enough superhero movies where there is time jump, so I was completely fine with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we got a time jump, and Carlton Drake is getting closer and closer to getting successful symbiosis. Some of the hosts are dying, but they're lasting longer than ever. He got like some under ice. He's got some strapped to gurneys. But most of these people are homeless people. Most of these people are poor people. They're being used for trials against their will. And Dr. Skirth, Dr. Doris Skirth, played by Jenny Slate, is not liking it. She seems a little bothered by the body count. Yeah. Meanwhile, our hero is drinking himself silly in a bar, watching the Life Foundation, and all that stuff there. And he decides that his best course of action is to go to his ex-girlfriend's house, who he hasn't seen in 6 months. So he walks over there, drunk as high heaven, and he sees the cat, that their mutual cat, in the balcony, and Ann pulls up, but Ann is not alone. Ann is with Dr. Dan.
the new boo.
It's been 6 months, and Dr. Dan has a key.
Mm-hmm.
Am I old school?
Yeah.
I'm too old
He's
school.
the dirty Dan.
It's only been 6 months.
He's the dirty Dan.
Cause you think she gives the ring up.
Well, he probably could have 6 months. He probably got that key yesterday.
That's true. That's true. But I'm saying with the 6 months gone,
Right.
she gives back the ring. There's at least 2 weeks of purging, right? Of
Right,
taking your stuff back, finding a new apartment, all that kind of stuff. Getting a new job, right? Did she ever mention that she got a new job?
Mm-mm.
Not really, right? But she must have gotten a new job.
She don't need a new job.
Well,
'cause,
Dr. Dan.
Dr.
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dirty Dan.
Dr. Dirty Dan. He must have all the money. But yeah, she has moved on to a doctor named Dan. I felt like that was a little bit of a cheap shot, but I don't feel like she tried to make it. It was actually him who set her up for it.
Yeah.
With the idea like, oh, what does he do? He's a doctor, Eddie, and you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Because there was also a scene of Eddie trying to circle, jobs in the wanted ads, and no one wants to deal with him because his name is tarnished.
His rep is just.
His reputation is tarnished, and the reputation being tarnished is a callback to the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted to touch him because he was the guy who lied on the Daily Globe. But we just basically see what a day in the life of Eddie Brock is, which is basically drinking, dealing with his annoying neighbor who likes to play rock music, circling wanted ads,
And coming home to the
drinking
beers.
more, going to his local supermarket, hanging out with homeless people named Maria, He gave
Yeah,
Maria
he
20
gave it 20
bucks.
bucks. Yeah.
He seems to have
But
a
he has a
rapport.
good heart.
Yeah,
He gave it 20 bucks.
and he seems to have a rapport with this woman. Like this is not their first conversation.
Hmm.
Maria is the homeless woman who hangs out in front of Mrs. Cheng's little store. So he chomps it up with Maria a little bit, and then he goes inside to Mrs. Chen's, and Mrs. Chen seeming also helpful,
Hmm.
and also has a heart.
She's giving him a meditation DVD.
Yeah, it's all in Mandarin, but he seems to have some. She's giving him advice. He needs to meditate. He needs to meditate. He needs to get past and over, his heartbreak and over his failures, and meditate and move past. Eddie tries to do that, but can't because his neighbor is blasting music. But on another trip to, or on the first trip to Mrs. Chen's, he sees a local thug force the owner to pay protection fees, and leaves without a word. I felt like he was gonna do something in that
Yeah,
moment.
I thought so too, but I was like,
He didn't want to get shot, bro. Just getting shot hurts. I'm pretty sure Eddie Brock has getting shot is not on his radar. But after a different trip to the store, Maria is gone. Her cardboard box is abandoned.
mysteriously.
And then in one of my favorite scenes, we see Eddie Brock talking to himself. He's basically like, "Yeah, I've been a reporter for a very long time. I snuck up on a bunch of people,
Following people.
following a bunch of people, and you suck at it." And he's basically talking to Dr. Skirth, who has come to Eddie for aid. She does not like that Carlton Drake has been killing a bunch of
Yes.
innocent people,
The
homeless
only
people.
person in the office who seems to have a moral compass.
Yes. And she knows that Eddie was the first person to try to expose Carlton Drake,
Mhm.
and hopes to get him more information so that she could fully expose him. He was a little bit against the fences with it, but decides to go ahead with it, and they break into the research facility kind of easily, and then she sort of locks him in there and is like, "Take pictures." Right? That's all.
I mean, she's got the access. So.
She got him in. All she wants him to do is take some pictures so that she could expose him. But
In and out.
he sees that one of the victims, one of the people that they are testing, is his old friend Maria from the store. And she starts to scream that she needs help. And so he busts her out. In breaking her out, she lunges on top of him, and the symbiote that was on her, the Venom symbiote, goes from her to him.
And she dies right on the spot.
And she dies. This is something that we've seen happen, where the symbiote will attach to an organism that can breathe oxygen, and then it will leech all of its energy, all of its organs. Like it will eat you alive almost from the inside.
Mhm.
And so Carlton Drake's literally just been trying to see which host can bring the perfect symbiosis, and people have just been dying left and right. So right after the symbiote leaves her, yeah, Maria's gone. Maria's dead. But Brock is able to escape, and they are not playing around. They chase him down on ATVs through a forest,
And he is out.
and yeah, he is out. They seem close to capturing him before he climbs what he calls the tallest tree. Really, 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 really tall tree. And yeah,
That was the first time we actually see some of the super stuff. Like that.
yeah, because he's busting through
he's busting
logs,
through gates, logs, trees.
walls, all kinds of stuff. But he still doesn't know what the heck is going on. This from here on out is to me when the movie begins and starts to actually start moving, because I think that Tom Hardy's best performance is the absolutely terrified Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
I think that absolutely terrified Eddie Brock is incredibly entertaining because, again, Tom Hardy's a big dude.
Mhm.
So when he plays sweaty scared, that nervous
Mhm.
tick
He doesn't know
stuff,
what's going on.
does
People
it
after him.
so good, so good. He comes home and he is starving. My man is hungry, so he rips open a bunch of frozen tater tots. And when that doesn't
Takes chicken out the garbage.
yeah, when that doesn't soothe his appetite, he takes chicken out of the garbage and starts to chew it up. Instantly feels bad, goes to the bathroom, throws it up, tries to figure out what is going on with me, tries to get a look at himself in the mirror, And when the Venom symbiote
Hungry.
shows up for a second, he scares himself so silly he trips and bangs the back of his head
knocks himself out.
and
in the
knocks
bathroom.
himself out clean. I thought that was hilarious. But he's like, if anyone knows what this is about, Anne does. So he keeps trying to contact Anne, and he finds out that Anne's at a restaurant. So he goes to go see Anne, and Anne's with Dr. Dan, chilling there, and he's trying his best to not look and sound like a complete lunatic, and is failing horribly at all of it because he is sweating. He's in a hoodie in like a black tie restaurant.
He's losing it.
He is losing it. He's pulling meals off of people's tables and trying to eat it,
This
and
is
is
dead.
disgusted because everything is dead. Apparently, the symbiote hungers for something living. But yeah, he is embarrassing everybody, and the peak of all that is when he decides to, I guess, take a nice little bath in the in the lobster tank
All the lobsters.
and grabs a live lobster and just with his teeth and hands just chows down into it. He eventually gets knocked out, but I can't remember how. Right, he does
He
get
does.
he gets knocked out, and I can't remember how. But if you guys remember, go ahead and let us know, remind us. But yeah, because when he comes to, he is on an MRI machine. He's in an MRI machine. Dr. Dan, good old Dr. Dan, has found a way to get him there. We know that maybe they gave him a sedative because they go to call the cops, and he's like, "Don't call the cops. Call an ambulance because he's one of my patients." So maybe they just hooked him up with some, drugs, and they knocked him out until he's able to come up. They through the MRI, they're able to discover the symbiote, and they also can't even fully do the MRI because the sound causes Eddie such pain that the symbiote starts to wig out. Yeah. Then we see that Carlton Drake finds out that Dora is the one, Miss Dr. Skirth is the one who gave up the information to Eddie Brock so that Eddie can not only expose them, but that's how the symbiote got loose.
Mhm.
So he locks her in a room with a symbiote, which kills her, and then the symbiote dies as well. So there's another.
He'd have been pissed if she'd have lived through that.
He was more pissed that the symbiote died than that she died. Because at that point, all the symbiotes are dead except for the one that Venom has and Riot, who seems to be making his or her way to San Francisco. Yeah. So that Eddie Brock is currently the only living specimen besides the Riot thing that seems to be working around. But it's over. Eddie Brock has to be the one with the symbiote. Carlton Drake knows this now, so he's sending people over to go handle it because he gets a call from Dr. Dan, and he's like, "Hey, so you think it's a parasite?" Because that's what he says.
Right.
We think it's a parasite. It's got to be a parasite, and everything that you're experiencing is side effects of a parasite. And he's like, "Fine, if that's what it is, that's what it is." All of a sudden, he starts to hear a voice in his head, and it says, "Don't open the door." And then he gets a knock on the door, and when he opens it, he's accosted by mercenaries of the Life Foundation who try to retrieve the symbiote from Eddie Brock. But not having any of it, the Venom symbiote takes over Brock's body and fights off everybody. It was pretty hilarious because we see that when they had the guns trained on Eddie Brock's first instinct is to put his hands up. And the Venom symbiote is like, "What are you doing? You're making us look foolish." I heard that Tom Hardy had a earpiece in his ear, and it would play when Venom would talk, so he can have the timing right. He's actually hearing the voices when Eddie Brock is hearing the voices and responding in kind. And the voice of Venom was done by Tom Hardy, so that's pretty cool there.
Keep wanting to say Eddie Brock. Every
Yeah,
time I see
yeah.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, same thing here.
Damn, man.
Then we get into what I wasn't a real big fan of, the highway chase scene. They drive around on the highway.
You have your typical
It's
highway
fine.
scenes. Yeah.
There's a bunch of exploding
I
drones.
like the symbiote highway scene.
I
The
didn't-
blue fire. The blue fire was nice.
I didn't understand why they were so adamant about using exploding drones in a populated city.
Right.
They killed or at least harmed a lot of people trying to capture Eddie. But I think the best part happens towards the end because Eddie eats dirt. uh, he hops on a motorcycle, but he's able to eat dirt. He just crashes into the ground
Leg
and
broken.
leg broken and everything. And the main henchman, finally grabs him up, and the symbiote not only fixes the leg, but I don't know if you caught it, created like a kickstand to stand
Yeah,
up.
to stand him up from the back. And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it
Yeah, that was
created him like
cool.
this kind of kickstand, and then for the first time in the film, the full Venom symbiote encapsulates Eddie Brock, and it's glorious. Uh, Eddie, Venom says the
So
whole
it was
eyes,
beautifully
nose.
terrifying.
Yeah, Venom says the eyes, nose, pancreas line that you see in the credits,
Hmm.
and then bites that man's head off. That man's head gets bitten off. A bunch of people end up trying to shoot after him, and he just leapfrogs and jumps on several cars, crushing them,
Hmm.
almost flattening them, then goes into the ocean, swims like a fish, pops back out as Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock's like, what the hell's going on? What just happened? And why is my leg not broken anymore? And for the first time, we get a conversation between Eddie Brock and Venom as the symbiote pulls away from him just enough to create its own face
Hmm.
and explain who Venom was. You basically find out that um, the comet that was there was a part of his people,
His
you know,
planet.
his planet, his people, and that they were originally going to come and invade and devour everyone there. But he will spare Eddie Brock if Eddie is able to help him stop, Riot and all those other kind of people. And Eddie kind of reluctantly agrees. How'd you like that conversation and the subsequent conversations that Eddie has with the symbiote?
I love it because you get a lot of that in Spider-Man and in the comic. So
Yeah.
to see to see it portrayed in live action and to see the back and forth between the two, even jokingly or even them being serious, is kind of really cool and badass at the same time. Even when they're going through it and fighting people, you can hear them talk to each other and stuff like that. So that is
Yeah, I thought it was really cool because I think what ends up happening everywhere else is that it's in the mind.
right.
Like when you
Yeah,
read
yeah,
it,
yeah.
you can read this what the symbiote's saying, you can read what Eddie Brock is thinking, but everything is
Yeah,
being said silently.
but that's what I'm saying too. Some of it you can also leave up to you
Yeah.
because either if it's out loud or just in the head, then that's also completely up to you sometimes as well. So I
Yeah.
really like that.
But I thought they had a good back and forth considering they both played by the same person.
Yeah.
They both seemed like um, their own unhinged selves. And Venom itself, the personality of the symbiote seems to be a personality of why can't we? Right?
Mhm.
Like everything he wants to do, Eddie's like, no, we can't. And he's like,
It's like, we can.
why not?
We can do anything we
Yeah,
want.
we can do like what are you together with this, you and me, symbiote and host together, there's nothing we can't do. So I thought that was pretty cool there too. He gets Venom gets Eddie Brock to drop off phone footage of the from the laboratory
from the Life
to his
Foundation
network so that they could expose Carlton Drake. He originally just tries to walk up the elevator,
Mhm.
but the security guy gives him grief. So Venom, the symbiote, offers to climb.
You want up?
And this thing, oh my god, it was so cool watching this thing
Yeah, just
devour
go up.
that tower, just
Yeah, man.
crawl up
Just
the tower.
climb,
Anytime
climb,
Venom is
climb,
moving,
jump,
running,
climb,
jumping,
climb,
all that
yeah.
stuff, so good.
Fire.
It's basically galloping up an entire building. He gets to the top, which I thought was homage to Spider-Man, just that hunching over on the top of a building. I feel like that's very Spider-Man-esque.
Mhm.
And right when you think everything's good, everything's done, and everything's good, Venom is on top of the building that he needs to break into. A plane passes by, and its screech is so
you can
powerful.
see, and that's like first real time where the symbiote jumps on and off of him because of the sound.
Yeah.
And then they start to fall off the building.
The sound pays him
Oh,
so
man.
much that it literally the symbiote falls off of Eddie, and Eddie seemingly falls down the side of this building before he is saved by the symbiote. So they go inside and they deliver the evidence to his boss, who's not there, and they put like a note that said like, "Do the right thing,
Shithead.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And now open and shut, right? Boom. We delivered it. Everything's good. He goes downstairs and there's an entire SWAT team ready to take him down, take him out. They throw some smoke grenades, and so it is yelled mask, so everyone can put on their mask, so they would not be held, susceptible to the smoke grenades. To which Eddie Brock yells mask and becomes the hulking Venom.
Copy.
In probably the way better action scene in this film, I think, because he takes out this entire SWAT team. I thought it was pretty cool.
Taking away guns, beating up people with other people,
just dragging people through. And did you notice every time that the grenade went off, it would the symbiote would spike
a little bit
because of the noise and stuff like that, the decibels. So I thought that was really, really cool. To
see them hurt.
Yeah,
the symbiote in a sense was kind of cool.
He able to destroy a bunch of SWAT team members, and all of a sudden, Anne shows up looking for him because it seems, according to Dr. Dan, that this symbiote might be more dangerous than we
following his trail of bodies.
Yes. So Anne sees Venom, then sees Eddie Brock. I thought that transformation is what
I was just about to mention that. That is so
I thought that was very,
ill.
very, very good. Very well done. I was very curious to see what the transition was going to look like when he went from Eddie Brock to Venom and Venom to Eddie Brock. But I really, really, really dug it in this. After seeing him do that, they decide that they're going to go to the hospital to figure out what's going on. And in that instance, Venom gives Eddie the idea to apologize for all the things that he's done wrong.
In his head, he knows everything of Eddie. He knows what Eddie thinks. Yeah. Everything that Eddie knows,
and
Venom knows.
I want to talk about this for a second because I saw in an interview that they said that the symbiote was weirdly obsessed with Anne, like unreasonably obsessed with Anne.
Okay.
I would say, and I would argue, that a symbiote of all things would know how important it is for two matching things to be together to create one more powerful thing. And it behooves the symbiote to make sure that Eddie's happy. Mm-hmm. And it seems like checking both those boxes is getting the girlfriend back, right?
Right.
So I don't see it as some kind of weird.
Because Venom still knows he still loves her.
He knows everything.
And he didn't apologize.
Remember, he tells him, "I know everything, everything in your head, about you, everything in your head, Eddie." So yeah, of course he's gonna be the perfect wingman. He wants Eddie to be happy, and he knows a thing or two about two things coming together to become a greater thing. In the hospital, it's explained that the symbiote might be rotting Eddie's organs, so they and traps him in the little MRI room, hits the MRI button, and the symbiote is in such pain it just jumps off of Eddie. They get Eddie out, and they seemingly trap the Venom symbiote in. And when Eddie gets a chance, he just bolts. He just leaves the hospital, with Anne following close behind. The Venom symbiote escapes and goes right into a dog. And in the meantime, Eddie Brock is captured by Carlton Drake's men after trying to enter an elevator. So now we have Carlton Drake has Eddie Brock in custody and is asking him about the whereabouts of Venom. He has his henchman asking him about the whereabouts of Venom. He tells him nothing, but in actuality, he didn't really know anything.
And I kind of really like that part because you get to see what Eddie's made out of at that point without the symbiote.
Yeah, because he knows he doesn't have it.
You know, so he ends up headbutting homeboy anyway, right in the mouth.
Exactly. So we know he's not necessarily 100%, harmless.
Right. And Eddie ain't no punk.
He's not. He ain't no punk. Honestly. After talking with the henchman and not getting anything off the ground, Mr. Carlton Drake decides to talk to him himself, and it is there we see that earlier in the film, that Riot symbiote was able to interact with him, touch him, and is now Carlton Drake is the host for the Riot symbiote. Mm-hmm. So Riot faces off with Venom, just in a nice little Venom villain monologue kind of way, and is like, we're gonna go to that planet and bring everybody
to this planet.
And that's that's where it's gonna be. after Riot, because when Riot bonds with Carlton, Carlton agrees to take Riot in a Life Foundation spaceship to collect the rest of the symbiotes and bring them to Earth. It's about to be a party. You understand?
Symbiote party.
And according to Venom, the symbiote, Riot is extremely armed and dangerous, and Venom doesn't even know whether or not he could defeat him. But first, Venom's gonna have to get with Eddie, because right now he's in some kind of cute dog.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Brock is taken to the woods to be killed. I feel like they could have just killed him. Probably just could have just killed him there.
They kind of wanted to kill him and maybe dig a hole for him.
Yeah, I guess
leave
yeah.
him
You
there,
can't dig a hole
you
through
know?
tile. Although there's a bunch of dead people in the Life Foundation, I'm pretty sure they're just what they throw them in
That
there.
forest stinks of homeless death.
It might. I'm not too sure what homeless death smells like, but I'm pretty sure if
Like
it did have a
like
distinct
that
smell,
forest.
yes, it would smell exactly like the forest. Yeah. So, and even then, I think Eddie's still talking trash when they bring him out to the forest to kill him, and all of a sudden you see a symbiote arm pull a couple of the henchmen away, and then a female Venom, a she Venom shows up.
That was real ill
and
right
chomps off the head of the main henchman,
Mm-hmm.
and then starts to have the creepiest / hottest makeout session with Eddie Brock as the symbiote,
As the symbiote transfers, and
leaves
dumps
the
Eddie
woman
Brock.
that we find out is Anne, leaves Anne to get back to Eddie. Cool, crazy, weird, all of those things. It was definitely all of those things. But yeah, She-Venom making its appearance. That actually does happen in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Wing gets the She-Venom costume because Eddie gives it to her for protection. But after a murder spree of bad guys, Anne confesses to Eddie that she murdered and ate some people. And Eddie's like, well, the symbiote only does what you want it to do.
Yeah, so give it back. That's in the comic, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she doesn't take that way. She takes it as, oh, I guess I'm a murderer then. And then she jumps out of a window and she kills herself. But it's all sunshines and
back to Venom.
it's all sunshines and horseshoes on the Venom movie, because she doesn't kill herself in this, because when Venom and Brock are bonded together again, this is also one of my favorite parts. When they bond together this time, Venom's like, I think I'll stay.
Mhm.
I was a loser on my planet, just like you are
Just
here.
like you.
But together, seemingly, we could be more. We could be better. And I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and Brock was actually the one that actually changed Venom's mind.
And he said, what was it? And he was like, it was you.
It was you.
You, Eddie. Which is cool. The human thing, the human aspect is what
Mhm.
ends up helping him. Meanwhile, Riot is trying to get a probe up into the air, and people are giving him a bunch of stuff. Riot / Carlton Drake is trying to get his probe up into the air, and people are giving him gruff, you can't man that thing by yourself. What are you doing? Yada, yada, yada. And so in a cold-blooded fashion, Carlton Drake lets Riot take over and murders everybody. Everybody?
Everybody.
Murders everybody that's there.
Starting with the guy that wanted to try to abort right behind his back.
Yes. He can tell that his erratic nature has caused some people in his company to distrust him. So he's looking around the corner of his eyes, and when he notices that majority of everyone is looking at him funny, he just turns into the full Riot symbiote, creates two scythes out of his hands,
Mhm.
and chops
And
people
clears the whole room.
kills everybody in 2 swings. Everybody's dead, but the probe is still going to go into the air.
Mhm.
So Riot does his best to get to that probe, but he's stopped by Venom, and they have kind of sort of a fight here. What do you think of the fight? I couldn't really tell what was going on over that time.
Sometimes I couldn't tell, but being from where we were sitting, it was kind of cool to see because for the most part, was able to make out what was going on.
Yeah, I did like the slow motion shots of them being ripped apart.
Yeah,
Those were all
that was kind of
cool.
eye candy for me because I was just like all over the place, like oh.
And I may be wrong, but wasn't there an instance in which Riot completely consumed Venom and Eddie?
Yes, and they end up jumping out because of I think it was the sound.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy. I was like, wait, what happens now? who do we pray to now? He has Eddie and Venom. It was also stated that Venom the Venom symbiote knew he was going to be in over his own head.
Yeah.
That Riot is what they call a team leader, he says, on his planet. He's a leader on his planet. And because he's a leader, he's can-do attitude. I mean, the guy's about to think about it, he's from another planet, and he's found a way to get back into a spaceship and go back home. That's a go-getter of a symbiote, if you ask me. But after being told to stay in the forest and is able to use some of the sonic waves of the probe to help Eddie out a little bit. But when it looks like all said and done, when it looks like Carlton Drake has stabbed Eddie Brock and is in the ship and is about to go take off, the symbiote is able to touch Eddie at the last minute. I thought Eddie was kind of dead.
Yeah, me too. He looked kind of dead.
But the
But
symbiote
what kept echoing to me throughout that part was, "I could heal you."
Oh yeah.
You told him earlier. I also like the fact that shoot, I just lost it because of the I was trying to think of
When he was in the spaceship.
that too, but damn, I don't believe I
Sonic
just lost
Scream
it.
when he got
No,
stabbed?
No, it's gonna hit me again.
When he got stabbed
no,
from
no,
the
no.
back.
When they were fighting on the little bridge thing before getting to the spaceship,
Yeah.
and they were talking about the hosts,
Yeah.
and he told Venom, you have a good host.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, he does have a good host, but Eddie Brock got hands. I don't know about Carlton Drake. I know
Right,
Carlton
right.
Drake ain't got no hands
Nah,
because
I
he's
don't
too rich
think-
to have hands. You
Yeah.
know?
When you're that rich, you don't have to ever hit anybody on purpose. You're good for that.
I thought that was cool. When he said that, I was like, Eddie Brock got hands, bro. Come on.
That's all that matters, baby. And you know, he's overmatched. He's got Riot's got more experience. Riot's got more muscle. Riot's got more weapon. But apparently, Venom, the character, and Eddie Brock have more heart because at the last minute they're able to jump on the probe and use a piece of the ship, or was it a piece of metal? The piece that was stabbed with.
The piece that Eddie was stabbed with.
The piece that he was stabbed with to
rip apart
the
body-
fuel
yeah,
tanks.
the fuel tank from underneath the spaceship.
And with the leaking fuel tanks, it was only seconds before the entire thing blows the hell up. Covering Eddie too in flames.
Mm-hmm.
Something very similar to Lethal Protector, where to go get Carlton Drake, Eddie has to get past the fire.
Past the fire, yeah.
And is basically smoldering. Eddie Brock hits the water, and I want to say that's how it stops until we get this another time jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it ends. Seemingly the Venom symbiote says bye, right?
Yeah.
It says,
Bye, Eddie. Venom, no!
yeah. The Venom symbiote leaves the body. I thought he was gone.
Yeah,
Thought he was
I thought
done.
he was gone too, man. I kind of got a little kind of sad during that.
Yeah. It's implied that the symbiote died in the explosion, but we see Eddie. We see what ends up happening with the rest of the Life Foundation. The expose does come out. Eddie Brock is working again, and he has a very high-profile interview that he needs to get to, and we'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks to Ann.
Ann. Yeah, he's talking.
Him and Ann are talking. Is Ann still with Dan? I guess she still
Dirty
is with
Dan,
Dan.
maybe.
With Dirty Dan. She's still there with Dan, but they talk about the kiss that they had. And she seems to enjoy it. And while we think Venom is gone, right when you hear Venom's
right
voice,
back. Yeah, man.
it made me feel good.
Yeah.
It's such an odd thing, right? I got so used to their
They
pairing
led us to believe and
that
then,
when it was revealed that Venom is still around and still always going to be right in the back of Eddie's head, I smiled. I
Yeah,
really
me
did.
too,
I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. And in another really, really cool scene, we see Venom. He's like, oh, gotta go, because Venom's talking to him and stuff.
because
He's
he
like-
doesn't
he
want
goes-
her.
he
He
goes,
doesn't want her.
She doesn't know we're gonna get her back. That's what he says. That's what he says. That's what the symbiote says. And I thought that was really cool because then you get the scene of him walking down the street, going like, "Okay, listen, I'll let you do what you want to do, but only bad people, never good, and they got to be the worst. And maybe sometimes you can eat people, but it's got to be bad people. We got to be on the same page. You got it? Like, yeah. At one point, I like when he goes, "I'm not unreasonable," something like that.
Not unreasonable. We are not unreasonable.
So Eddie is on top of the world. The girl that seemingly was gone, kind of sort of seems to want to come back.
Right.
The job that he thought was ruined for him, he's got a brand new life now that he's exposed the Life Foundation and everything going forward. With this high profile interview that he has, everything's coming up. Eddie Brock. So he decides to go get him something to eat.
Yeah.
Goes back to Mrs. Chen's to go get something. He's like, "What do you want to eat?" He's like, "Chocolate and tater tots."
Yeah.
Breakfast of champions, bro. Tater tots and chocolate. At least he cooked them this time. And as he's about to leave, Mrs. Chen is again being accosted by a local thug asking for protection money. So Eddie's like, yeah, that guy, he's a bad guy. I like that too. He's like, how am I supposed to know who the bad guys are? He's like, yeah, you'll be able to tell.
You'd be able to
You'll
tell.
figure it
Yeah.
out. He's like, you'll know it when you see it or whatever. And so the Venom symbiote basically asks, is this the bad guy? Yeah, it is. You can do your thing. And turns into the Venom symbiote. You get the whole thing about I'll rip your arms and legs off. You'll be blowing around like a turd.
You feel me?
Like a turd in the wind. Line from the trailer. He bites the man's head off.
I don't even think he bit his head off. I think he just
ate the whole thing.
Ate him whole,
he might have ate him all.
Like,
he might have ate the whole person. Well, it's got to be a case of Eddie not wanting to feed the symbiote people. So when he does feed the people, he's like, just eat the whole
get
thing.
it over with,
Just
bro.
eat the whole thing, bro. Go crazy. It's like when your kid gets birthday cake. It's like, you're already eating it. Just go ahead. Go crazy. Stick your face in that icing. It doesn't matter anymore. And the film ends with them walking down the street, still kind of deciding how they were going to live the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read Lethal Protector, that's very much what that is him saying, like, trying to decide what it takes to be a hero, what it takes to be a good guy. Eddie Brock genuinely feels like a good guy in this. And so it was so cool to see him portrayed as that and see him come off as not the squeaky clean hero that maybe a Spider-Man is, because he's not. But the more troubled, the more rough around the edges hero that Venom is. I think they did a really good job with that. Stan Lee does a pretty good cameo, and I thought that was pretty tight. Because I guess it was towards the end of the movie, so I wasn't really expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
But Stanley gets his cameo money.
Yeah, that was ill.
Because he gets his cameo.
At that point, I didn't even think he was gonna show up or anything like that.
Yeah. And then we get to the post credit. The post credit scene shows that Eddie Brock is going to go interview somebody at a high security prison.
Important interview.
A very, very important interview. He is escorted by a correction officer who says that this guy is incredibly dangerous, that nobody wants to interview him, no one wants to talk to him. And when we get there, we see Cletus Cassidy, played by... Why was it just leaving my head right now? This is not good.
This isn't good. This is not good because I was trying to remember. It just left my head.
Woody
too.
Harrelson.
There you go.
There you go. I have it. I'm here. Woody Harrelson, who is rumored to play Cletus Cassidy, is playing Cletus Cassidy.
Redheaded glory.
Did not like the wig.
Didn't like the wig.
Not a fan.
I kind of didn't like it either.
Maybe I'm not used to seeing Woody with long hair.
Because I think in the comic and in the animated show, it's a little short. It's a little shorter.
Yeah.
I think I remember it being a little shorter or a little longer, but I don't remember it being.
It wasn't on a bald man. That's what. But he says, when I get out of here, there's gonna be some carnage. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that was it. I mean, yeah, completely dug it. Sets itself up for a sequel, which, I mean, if this is good at all, if this is any good at all, they're going to bank on that sequel. You hear the Morbius movie is coming, and there's just really serious about this Sony universe of Marvel characters that they call it. But as his first entry, what do you think?
Great. I don't think they could have started off even better.
Yeah.
I'm glad. What I'm happy about is that although it was good, the balance between the jokey and the seriousness between Eddie and Venom was pretty damn good. It kept people going, and when we were at the theater, everybody seemed to have loved it too, because everybody was, depending on what was said or whatever jokes were, because people are different. You were gonna end up having a good time with it. Your side was gonna end up hurting through one of the jokes.
I went in there with legitimately like the lowest expectations, and I was fine. I was fine after the fact, and maybe those lowered expectations helped me enjoy this film, because I found it funny. I found it humorous. It wasn't laugh out loud funny, like I was dying every minute, but I was very entertained. I heard the criticism that this is a comedy. Too many jokes.
Nah, I went in with my fingers crossed, man, all the way through. But the minute I started getting my real taste for it, and I was already knee deep, I was like, oh man, this is fucking freaking awesome.
Like I said again, too many movies get too complicated because they try to get too serious. Mm-hmm. And I feel like because this movie took a little bit of a lighthearted tone, it was able to not to gloss over some of the crazy details, because we just want to get to the story, which I think helps this movie. People were thinking that we were going to get a horror movie with this. Straight up.
And people were also kind of complaining about the rating, about it not being an R, about it being PG-13, and they were really trying to push it as far as that went, and I thought that was freaking great.
It was close to an R.
Yeah, it was close to an R.
You can see you. I mean, obviously couldn't see C, but they probably took out very little to get it to PG-13.
And you can tell that they really pushed it.
They dropped an F-bomb.
Yes, they did.
So
yes,
I
they
mean, don't bring all your kids. You know. I was asked by a coworker whether or not they should bring their kid to this, and I said it depends how they feel about cursing,
Right.
how you in your household deal with cursing, because there are curses in this, and it depends how much horror they've watched, because some of those symbiote possession scenes are horrifying.
Kinda,
if you've never seen that before, I don't suggest bringing your child to see it for the first time in this. But do you think the expectations of this being a horror movie were unrealistic? Or do you think that the trailers and stuff led people into that direction?
I feel so. I feel like the trailer brought them what they wanted. Everybody, because okay, so that's my thing. Like I get people are different and they have different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I completely think that the whole movie matched the trailer in a sense. So it's not like it was really horror, because it's supposed to be a superhero movie,
right?
You know what I mean? So,
but then it's also that the world's got too many superheroes. Kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like they're doing a lot of like, this is not your grandpa's superhero movie. And then when it became your grandpa's superhero movie, I guess people got upset because it kind of was acting like it wasn't going to be. I didn't have those expectations, but we're trying to speak on those who are listening right now. Going, I'm glad you liked it,
but
that's
I
also
thought, because we're also kind of familiar with Venom.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We did I mean, if you've listened to the last couple episodes, between the animated series, breakdown, and then the Lethal Protector breakdown, we've been covering a lot of Venom. I've personally been covering a lot of Venom, and I felt like this was faithful to that.
I think so, and especially with because in the comic there's an underground city.
There's that whole underground city thing.
So like I said earlier, the
Trees guy.
The workaround for all of this is just awesome. The Trees guy was the bald dude.
Yeah.
The head honcho for the security team. So I thought that was cool too. So I'm a big fan of when the workarounds end up working out.
And speaking of working out, this movie does not work out without Tom Hardy. Yeah. And Tom Hardy, besides considering Venom the coolest Marvel hero, that's what the man says, didn't know much about the character and really took the role because he wanted to please his son.
Mm-hmm.
His son loved Venom, and so he picked somebody who he can, he picked the character where he could bite heads off.
Movie made $80 million, dude. He's gonna crack $100 million next week.
For your son, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, for your son.
For your son, you know what I'm saying? Like,
for the fruit of your loins,
that's
if you will.
They also said that it's also stated that Tom Hardy's son helped Tom Hardy with how to portray both Venom and the symbiote.
Awesome.
Because his son was a humongous fan.
Yeah, that's like come on, it gets no better than that. You got your son that's also a huge Venom fan, helping out with you, trying to get a grasp for the character. Come on, man.
Yeah. And
that's a good time all on his own.
Hardy himself says there's something funny about the circumstances of having a tragic gift. It's a superpower you really don't want, but at the same time you love it. It makes you feel special. It's both a reluctant hero and an anti-hero. So he describes him like a tragic clown, like somebody who can be happy but has a weight on their shoulders that they're not necessarily proud of.
I like how you put that.
Right? That's a very unique take on that. The girlfriend, Anne Wang, works at Michelini and McFarlane, which are the creators of Venom. That's her law firm, but those are the creators of Venom. I thought that was cool. Again, the filmmaker cite Lethal Protector and Planet of the Symbiotes as stories.
And that's what stuck out to me too, that whole Lethal Protector thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's also.
And in there, I mean, I behoove any of you guys who are not comic book fans to read that, because in there is a lot of the comedy that is there. There's times where Spider-Man is trying to straight up arrest Venom, and Venom's like, "Hold on, I'm doing something over here. I'll tend to you in a second.
Let's get to this later, but
I'll get to you in a second. But you need it." So I thought it did a good job with all that. to be honest. I think that there are faults in this, but if you go in looking for faults, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah,
You're just not gonna.
seriously.
You're just not gonna enjoy
You're
yourself.
gonna miss out on the whole movie.
I'm not saying that. It's so weird because my bar has become so different.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch things like Fan Four Stick
Mm-hmm.
and
Catwoman,
and
come
Catwoman and
on,
stuff,
man.
it's like now I don't really care about they subverted expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Screw all that. Do what was in the book. Do that. It works every time. It worked in the book.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't do what's in the book because of like
come up with something better.
Yeah.
Better. Because guess what? In the book, this comes from Spider-Man, and they had to completely
Mhm.
take that out. And they found a way to take it out and make it compelling, and it was still compelling. It was still incredibly compelling. I really, really dug it. What do you think about Carlton Drake, millionaire,
I wanted to say that
genius,
earlier.
playboy,
You know,
philanthropist?
and there's like after a while, mad scientist has become like sort of a cliche
Yeah.
in a way. So he gets points for being weird, nice scientist because he was talking with the kids earlier and stuff like that. But he kind of weirded me out being this he was if I can say weird mad scientist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of got that from him, and it felt different in a sense. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought it was good. I thought some of his lines were a little cheesy about like, well, and humans are the problem.
But that's what I'm saying. But his mannerisms and the way he said things is what I really liked. So he gets points for being a weird mad scientist. So I like that.
Yeah, I dug that. Girlfriend was just kind of there.
Yeah, girlfriend was the
Michelle
girlfriend.
Williams.
That's cool.
She was cool. I like the stuff with the neighbor. With the guitar. I thought that was pretty funny. But it seems like we're wrapping up on this. I genuinely just enjoyed it, and I said, I mean, you stayed on for this long, so I'm pretty sure you've seen the movie, and that's why you're here. But go see it again. Try to get an original opinion about this, and you're allowed to not like it. I want to say that here. As far as Comic Book Clique, there are many movies I don't like that members of the clique like, and vice versa. You've seen our Which Is Worse episodes. We literally can't agree sometimes on some of these movies, but it was cool to see this movie and to debunk that it is not the worst superhero movie of all time. It was cool to see this after Comic-Con, after being indulged in the fandom, and it was cool seeing it with you, Claudius Maximus, a friend of the show and a member of the clique. It was cool doing that.
We were Venom.
We were all Venom. We were all Venom in a way. Got anything else left to say about the Lethal Protector?
He did lethal protecting is what I love about the whole thing.
I want to see Lethal Weapon now with Venom. Can they do that?
Lord Jesus.
Lethal Weapon Protector?
I want a movie where is Eddie Brock and Venom practicing on their meditation.
That
Wow, you see,
I like
you
that.
didn't know you
I
wanted
like
that.
that. I never knew I wanted to see Venom sit Indian style, Native American style.
I don't know, but he was trying to meditate in a movie
Well,
without the symbiote.
Are people still allowed to say Indian style?
I don't know. I kind of say it sometimes.
Native American style? Say one of those ways. But Venom seems to be coming back with this sequel. He seems to be coming back, and it seems to be maybe Maximum Carnage.
And standing strong without Spidey.
Yeah, standing strong without Spidey. And maybe this Carnage comes back when Venom returns. Which we don't know when Venom is going to return. But we know when we're going to return because we return every single Wednesday with a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast. But if you can't wait till Wednesday, go back into our catalog and witness over 40 hours of geek talk, nerd fandom right there. Wherever podcasts are found, we're available on Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Addict, the Apple podcast app, available on every single iPhone. If you Google the Major Issues Podcast, we're the first ones to come up as part of the Podbean network. And you can find us also on YouTube. These same podcasts get uploaded to YouTube. So make sure that you are following the Major Issues Podcast wherever podcasts are found. Again, we update every single Wednesday. But the Major Issues Podcast is a part of Comic Book Clique. And if you want to follow all the things that Comic Book Clique is doing, all you have to do is go to facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram @comicbookclique, and use the hashtag comicbookclique to talk about all the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media.
Click.
As you know, Clique is spelled CLIQU. It's a nice little group that we have here. Join the Clique. because together we are stronger, and together we can get quite a bit of a symbiotic relationship. We are on Twitter at Major Issues CBC. We have shows. We have shirts on TeePublic. We have videos on YouTube. We are available basically on every single
Yes.
platform that there is. We are trying to encompass all of the internet like the symbiote that we are, and just go into every bit of the nooks and crannies that is comic books and comic book media. But that will be the end of this particular episode, because my name is George Serrano, aka the Don,
I am Cloudus Maximus. We are ComicBook Clique.
and this has been our Venom, and I guess a little bit of New York Comic Con recap and review. But remember, whether or not you think that the world is going to end, that we need to go to another planet, whether you have some kind of insatiable appetite for burnt tater tots and old chicken, whether somebody's trying to stick their Venom symbiote in you, or whether you're trying to stick your Venom symbiote in someone else, remember that we are Venom. We are the Clique. And you, yes, you are worthy.